This week, I wanted to talk about DDR5 RAM and CAS latency and why it doesn't seem like it actually has that big of a performance impact. But before we get into that, this Tuesday, I was supposed to go over the pre-built versus custom PC. I ended up posting that on Sunday, which is when I'm filming this. And the reason why I just wanted to get it out. It took a lot of effort, and overall, I just wanted it to be available for people if they are making decisions about purchasing a PC. So my upload today is going to be about CAS latency, and I'm going to use some data that I figured out from this video as well as my dual channel versus single channel video to show you the comparison between CAS latencies for a 9800X3D and a 7600X. So let's just get into the benchmarks and you guys can see the comparisons. First up, we have Call of Duty Warzone with 1080p benchmarks for the 7600X running a 6000 CL30 kit versus a 6000 CL36, and we're seeing 3% or less performance difference between these sets. Next up is Lords of the Fallen, and here we see, again, less than 3% difference in the average FPS, and then it's just 1 FPS difference for the 1% and 0.1% lows. Hogwarts Legacy, again, has very similar results between the two sets of RAM, so CL30 or CL36 end up getting you very similar performance in this game. Finally, in Cyberpunk 2077 in Dogtown at 1080p high preset with high crowd density, we end up seeing our biggest discrepancy here in the 0.1% lows, where it is 14.5% better performance with the CL30 RAM versus the CL36. But again, you're getting very similar average, and it's not like the 0.1% lows are dropping to 30 or something. This is still very good performance. But let's get into the benchmark summary. And here we can see that the performance is very similar. In the averages, we're a little bit over 2% difference. In the 1% lows, we're a little bit over 3% difference. And in the 0.1% lows, we're a little bit over 4% difference. So very similar results, nothing too crazy. It's just a few FPS off of each other, even when you're using a higher CAS latency kit. And I also want to show you guys the benchmark summary for my 9800X3D, where I was using CL30 versus CL38. And let's take a look at those right now. And here we can see that, again, we're running the same 4 games, same settings, and we end up seeing pretty similar results between these two sets. And I ended up watching a podcast with Hardware Unboxed, and Steve kind of explained that the reason why you end up seeing even less performance difference with a 9800X3D, even though we are using a higher CAS latency kit, is because the 3D V-cache ends up helping buffer the situation, and they end up having less of an impact to your frame rate because the 3D V-cache can kind of help smooth everything out. So overall here, we're seeing basically the same performance. And with RAM prices being expensive as they are, I think that you definitely should consider getting a higher CAS latency kit, and maybe you can save some money that way. But this is all I wanted to get to in this video. Next week, I'll still have my video with my nerf of my 9800X3D system, where I'm going to put in a ASRock motherboard and a ASRock GPU. But that'll do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next week.